All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Allegedly, the podcast. Today I have Ash Petrie, the editor-in-chief of The Collegian, and I have our designer. Please introduce yourself.
Kiara Smith.
Kiara Smith, welcome to the podcast. This is her first time in the podcast room with us, so everyone, round of applause right now.
Woo!
Kiara, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a designer for The Collegian. I started working here at the end of last semester, and it's been really crazy and scary.
And scary.
Scary.
Yeah.
Boo.
It's usually because when she walks in, I'm like in full costume, like dressed up to the nines in like ghost costume, you know.
Yes.
Actually, we can't
terrifies
see
me.
you, and then we just hear you, and it's terrifying.
It's actually because I'm in camo.
Oh.
So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, last semester, I remember when you'd first started working with us, I remember we were sitting down and we were having a conversation about like things that you were interested in and whatnot. And
Yeah.
I remember you telling me that you had a big interest in fashion.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that, because I know that you wanted to get into a little bit of education about that too.
So in high school, I started taking like these fashion design / sewing classes.
Yeah.
And I also learned a little bit about like the history of fashion.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. I didn't stop learning. Like I learned a little bit on my own, but
Mhm.
I stopped after high school pretty much.
Yeah. Well, the grind must have never stopped because your fits always eat.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm also the resident fashion icon for the Collegian.
Exactly. And we love it. We love it. Every time I see you walk in the door, it's always something new and cool. And I'm like, damn, why didn't I think of that? You know?
Yeah.
So
yes.
all that is to say, we kind of have an expert in here with us.
Gosh. It's intimidating.
I will also say Ash has got fits that always eat.
True.
It's one day I come in looking nice, and then the next day I actually look like a tornado.
Fashionable tornado.
I feel like every day you come in and it looks like you're about to sing on a band.
Ooh.
Okay, I'll take it.
What kind of music?
Opera.
Okay.
You know, I just put a little twist on your average opera singer, you know?
I do like that, yeah. All opera.
Classically trained, of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
We've
wonderful.
spent 27 years of my life, you know?
Yeah.
Of course.
Of course.
That's
yeah.
one does.
Uh-huh.
So today
know
we're
Latin.
actually going to talk about fashion, if you couldn't already guess from me bringing it up. But what's really interesting and what I think we should highlight is the fact that we're seeing changes in fashion right now in current day times. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how it influences economics and politics. And then these two here with me also have their own points to make. And you might be wondering, why is this so important to talk about? It's clothes. Well, my favorite movie is The Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, I love that movie.
And I used to think that I considered myself not so much a participant, but more an observer of fashion. But there was a scene in the movie that I always think about, and it has something to do, I think is it the color cerulean blue or something like that? There's a scene where a character tells the main character that, like, you may think that the clothes that you're wearing has no impact, doesn't mean anything, but you are by default, by wearing a blue sweater, actively participating in every movement that happened to make that color, to make that sweater, down to the industry and who made it, you know. And I always think about that fact because it's not just fashion. It's everything that has to do with the expression. And at the end of the day, the money that goes into it. You know? So, yeah, take it away.
So, I brought up a point earlier today about hemline theory, which goes into the theory made by, what's his name? George something. But
George something.
George something. And it's basically the theory that the length of women's skirts throughout time correlates to the stock market performance.
Really? Okay.
And it's about we've done like recent studies, like I think we did one in 2015 and then one in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And it was found to be kind of accurate, but with like a 3 to 4 year delay.
What do you think that is?
I'm not sure, actually. I did want to ask your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Is it that, what is the correlation? Is it that the skirt is shorter during certain times, longer?
Yeah, so during like economic prosperity, skirts are shorter.
They're
Skirts
shorter
are
when
shorter.
we're
Found
not.
to be shorter.
Oh, when we're doing good, skirts are shorter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh. I am curious to know why that is. If I had to guess, like, I feel like doing better, do you mean like economically?
Yeah.
I would assume it had to be like because there's more of like a freedom feeling. I guess like
Yeah.
hemlines and I don't know, something about getting those knees out there just makes you feel free, right?
Yeah.
That is really interesting. And when you brought up the hemline theory earlier today, I was super curious to know more about how that applies, you know?
And it was brought up in around the 1920s when skirts were starting to be like really short around that time.
And then the Great Depression came.
Yep.
Awkward.
And all them shorts became long again.
And everyone was making their own clothes.
Yes. And that reminds me of the other point I was going to make. The fact that, like, fashion, well, actually, that's a question I want to ask you guys, because in my mind, usually when you think of, like, fashion and, like, economic status, there's a reflection of, like, making your own clothes for someone who is lower income means it's a strategy of survival, right? And, like, patching your own clothes and things like that is because, like, you don't have the resources to get more of what current fashion, like, demands or requires of you. But on that same idea, handmade fashion for people who are higher income, that's a luxury, you know, because to someone who is lower income and makes their own clothes, it's a necessity. And then to higher, it's couture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to ask you guys what the difference you think that is. I don't even know if that was a sentence. What the difference you think that is?
Well, for me, like, my grandmother always sewed, always embroidered, always patched. It was something we learned at a young age. We made our own quilts. It was just like a pastime, but it was also almost a necessity that she wanted to teach us, because that was what she always did. I mean, that's what her grandma did, her grandmother's grandma did, her great grandmother, you know, it just goes on. And so it was a skill. And I think today as an adult, I'm very glad I know that skill. I don't own my own sewing machine. I wish I did, because I definitely use it a lot more. But when it comes to embroidering and adding little details to some of my clothes, or crocheting and making, you know, things that I may see online that I like, and I kind of make it into my own thing, that's never been something I've never done. But I do know how, like you're saying, right, like, for some people it's for survival, and then for others it's a pastime and it's an art, and then for others it's couture. And I think really it's just all like based on your perception and how you use it, and how, if you profit off of it or don't, and how far you go if you profit off of it, I guess. I don't know.
That is very interesting. Tell me more about perception in fashion.
When you brought up this podcast idea with me, I knew immediately who I wanted to ask, just for some input on ideas or whatever, just to kind of talk with. And my partner, he photographs models for different agencies in the area. He really enjoys styling models and, like, putting them in clothes. He thrifts a lot of things, or goes to, like, Nordstrom rack, not Nordstrom. He goes to, like, the Neiman Marcus rack in Grapevine and gets all, like, that stuff. But it's something he really enjoys, and he knows a lot about fashion. And so I asked him if he had, like, any input on it himself. And we both, through, I mean, probably an hour of talking about it, came to the idea that it's more based on perception. Like, the pendulum swing of politics will always have an effect on everything. But right now we think that it's more to do with the perception of things because of the influence of media, more than politics itself. Because he brought up how right now when you go online, like, the hem isn't shorter or longer. Like, the hem isn't longer right now for a lot of influencers or people that we see on the daily. Some of them are conservative, some of them are liberal. Like, it doesn't really matter, like, when we look at it right now.
For handmade clothing, for me, since I make a lot of clothes for myself right now. And I used to sell them like a few years ago. It's mostly a form of like artistic expression for me, more than
really
just
cool.
like being poor, which I am kind of, but that's besides the point. Like, you know, I come in and paint my own jackets and everything, but I think I had a conversation with my grandmother about like her history with like crocheting and sewing, but it's mostly been like a point of survival for them, like what we brought up earlier. Because, you know, back then it was a lot of like segregation, and some of their oldest family members were basically freed from slavery. So yeah, that's
that perspective is important, you know, especially when it comes in terms of fashion, because that is a huge example.
Like my grandmother grew up around a time where like she wasn't able to go to the like whites only beach.
Really?
Well, I think when you grow up with a family who a focus for them was making their own clothing. My family, like, we were a farm culture, like, family. So we didn't have a Levi's store. We didn't have the outlet malls near us in Comfort, Texas. It was just, you had what you could make, especially like in the, 20th century, when access to fashion was already so difficult. I think the 80s is when you really start to see that transition of people not making their own clothes, but rather they're now buying them. I buy a lot of just old patterns from like antique malls. I mean, even estate sales, because some of like really cool clothing patterns are available from old people.
I used to love those. When I was a kid, I thought they were so cool, like those packets of patterns.
Yeah, but like they still make them to this day. But I feel like that culture, that idea of, oh, let's buy this pattern, this looks really cool, we can make it, let's go, really ended around maybe the latter half of the 70s. And then when the 80s came around, I feel like people just started purchasing clothes because of the economic boom, and we were able to afford it. We didn't have to make things. And prior to that, it was just the norm, I guess. Like, even when I think of my dad's mother, he was born in 57, 58. So my dad's mother, she also knew how to sew and to do things. And my dad knows how to hem. He knows how to fix a hole in his jeans, but he can even see that change of, well, yeah, you had home ec and you learned. This was like a mandated course. And now I know, for me, at least when I was in school, it was kind of like an extracurricular course. It wasn't mandatory to learn to sew. It wasn't mandatory to learn how to mend clothing. So why that transition happened? Yeah, probably because of economic boom. But I don't know if we can say that. I don't know. For me personally, I don't necessarily think that political ideology really has an effect on how we dress. I think times change, but especially now with media, we're always exposed to things. We're always exposed to like how people dress. And I think, like you brought it up, both of you did, that expression is a way to just show yourself, and in a way that's also you showing your morals and your beliefs. And just because the pendulum swings one way or the other, that doesn't change who we are. That doesn't change how I'm going to express myself. Now, maybe in the past, when politics came with a more heavy hand on how people acted.
The 90s, when people started like making their own, like, we brought up the shoelace kind of thing. That's when the shoelace thing was like really big. But also around that time, we have these like really political, like handmade, I don't want to say hack job, but really amateur looking on purpose battle jackets with like these big political statements on them. And I found a quote by George M. Johnson saying, like, the quote is, visibility is survival. So around that time, I think that's where a lot of like queer political fashion came out, around like Stonewall.
Yeah. I think fashion is a way to identify. Like, I think for a really long time, because we didn't have media and people had to hide behind closed doors, they would put symbols onto their body, whether it be through colors or, like you said, shoelaces, or maybe even different types of pieces or articles of clothing. When you would go out, you would wear those things. And if you saw someone and identified, hey, we've got this similar thing and we know it has this meaning attached to it, now we identify with one another. Whereas today, I think we're taking it just way too far in a sense and trying to claim something as something when in reality it's not.
Always like the next big political statement that gets tossed around as like a trend.
Right.
I mean, almost. Like we are it's almost like I feel sometimes we've made so much progress in so many ways to like, I don't have to wear this certain article of clothing to be comfortable with who I am and be able to find people like me and then we all meet up, right? And then we can be ourselves. We just naturally are ourselves, which is a benefit. But now it's almost, we're trying to over-identify people on how they look to where it's now becoming a problem. Like Hope and I yesterday looked up, like, I just looked up what is conservative fashion, what are conservative trends. Yeah. And one of the things that came up was like the clean girl trend. And I think you said that, or one of you said that you saw somewhere when we are in kind of an economic downfall, people tend to focus more on the way that they look when it comes to cleanliness and being fresh and being clean presenting. And I could see how the argument could be, you know, we can't afford makeup, we can't afford these things, but we still want to look and present nicely. So this clean girl aesthetic comes out. And while I don't think it is as trendy as it was before, one could look at me and say, I follow the clean girl aesthetic. But the thing is I've been washing my face and putting on serums and lotion since like 2010 because my mom was very into skincare. Yeah. And so does that mean both my mom and I are flaming Republicans and we're out to ruin you and all of your rights? Like, no, that's...
Me when I shower and I'm a Republican.
Me when I wash my face and I just somehow become like Peter Tieldage or something like that. Like, I'm just like...
like you're aggressively scrubbing.
Yeah, just, that's what happens. Yeah. No, like... And so I think it's interesting that, like, we try so hard to be able to stereotype how people look, right? Because we're all so unique, maybe in a way, where, like, I know liberals who dress conservative, and I know conservatives who dress, like, liberally, but at the same time, what does dressing conservative or liberal even mean?
Yeah. I am very chronically online right now. And so I see on like TikTok, Instagram, people perceiving certain creators as like, oh, trad wives. She's like promoting trad wife lifestyles, but then she's just like taking care of her kids.
Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah. That, what you mentioned earlier about how self-care, like DIY, increases during economic downturn is actually a 2020 report by McKinsey & Company. And just for background context, McKinsey & Company is a consultation firm mostly for businesses. So they usually end up making reports for people who want to be in specific industries. And it starts from all the way the medical industry down to fashion and business and financing. So they encompass a lot of things, but they do their research on things that they know make money. There was a new report in this year, 2025, where they basically explained that the current fashion, what's the word? The economic environment is no different than last year's, except for just a small percentage increase, and that's because we're seeing issues with affordability. And that means that, you know, with tariffs and with things changing and how we're importing specifically from China, because China is the biggest powerhouse right now for fashion, people don't have access to that stuff anymore. And I'm glad that you brought up home ec, because I think that idea of sewing and making your clothes is a skill, but we've come to find that specifically in the education system, we're creating people to be prepared for the workforce now, you know? So there's not a need for home ec, because why would you need to know specific like household skills or things like that when, you know, we're making workers in the industry. So I think that is super, super interesting to talk about. And again, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think there's layers to these things where, like, underneath all of that, at the end of the day, it's how society is being prepared to work for, you know, these companies and make money, while at the same time we're not making money, you know, because we can see in these new reports that people can't afford these new things. And I do wonder how fashion is going to change towards the end of this year and into 2026, because do you guys remember me mentioning the fact that Target tags are missing, like, the pull tab part? That's because of tariffs, you know, because they're needing to make up for that price difference, which is beginning to be very stark, you know?
Yeah, to kind of go a little bit into that, Target and a few other retailers have been ripping off the prices or covering the prices up on their clothing, because there is a significant discrepancy between the prices of them now to the price they were a month ago.
Right.
And so if they have a pair of jeans in the store that they got a month ago and they haven't sold, and now they have, you know, tariffs and all of these new pairs of jeans with different prices on them have come in, they've just chosen to just completely remove the price from all of these tags so they can keep up with the constant change of the prices, because it's just, it rose and then it rose again. And so if you have 3 pairs of jeans that were imported at 3 different times, they're all going to have different prices on them. Yeah. So it's just rip off the price, because it's easier that way than us trying to find all these pairs of jeans in our inventory, which, I think tariffs are definitely going to have a severe impact on fashion. And my partner, kind of something he said is he feels that due to fashion being a class statement, he kind of said fashion has been more of a status thing. You know, you get this specific item and it kind of shows a status level. And then it became so oversaturated, where consumerism took over fashion, and then also to make fashion easily accessible by the general, you know, public, because people wanted and craved that sense of look at me, I guess. It made fashion cheaper, and with cheap it made fashion more accessible to lower classes, which isn't technically a bad thing, but it also made the quality a lot cheaper. Right. I'm big on thrifting. And so when I think of buying a pair of Levi's jeans with the orange tag that I know also says made in the USA, that is a denim that I don't have to mend. I don't have to fix. It's not stretchy. It fits me right. But if I buy a pair of Levi's jeans from Target, I don't buy them. I actually don't buy them because I put them on and it's spandex polyester and then a little tiny bit of cotton. And they're like, denim! It's denim! Don't get it wrong! And
like
it's not denim.
Noise in the background.
It's not denim. Don't lie to me. It's not. Like, we have made fashion so cheap to make it affordable. Why do you have 20 pairs of pants, Sydney? Why do you have 20 pairs of pants? If you had one pair, let's put it this way. You had, I don't know, I don't have a single person I know named Sydney, but if you had 3 pairs of really good jeans, you didn't have to wash them all the time because they didn't stretch to God knows what. Right. After one wear, there's so many layers to it. Like, it's a multifaceted thing. It's not just politics. It's not just economics. It's all of these different things that have created this just massive industry, in my opinion. Like, I don't even know how else to describe it.
Surround sound of that.
Like, I really don't, because, I mean, in my head, at the end of the day, politics has more of a sway on our perceptions and how we view things, and how, a clean girl is gonna probably take my rights away. Like,
Right.
how is that your perception? I don't know. Obviously, media has a lot to do with that. You brought up trad wives.
Right.
I think too, something people need to keep in mind is like once trad wives got attention on media, like in the beginning, that video was for them, right? They were
Yeah.
making a video of them talking about their belief system and their moral system on marriage and what being a wife was like for them.
Right.
And then it got onto the wrong side of TikTok. People who don't agree with them immediately flagged, said, "What in the world is this? That's
Yeah.
not how I feel. Your belief, your perception is actually incorrect. Mine is correct. And now I'm going to shun you, send this video to my friends." So right by doing that, now this person who used to make these videos for themselves and just for their small community of people who watched them is now getting a flood of criticism. But with that criticism comes profit, comes views, and comes monetization. So what are they going to do now? Well, they can't keep saying the same thing that they said last week because this is the media, sweetheart. You got to keep up with it. So what are they going to do? They're going to now start saying some pretty outlandish things to keep you watching. Now what's going to happen? Well, people who watched them before and said, "Oh, this is fun. I agree with you." They had an established level of trust with this creator. So now this creator is going off the rails to keep views up. So their small community is going, "Yeah, you're right.
You know
Yeah,
what?
I can only pick up a broom. Well, no, I have to pick up a broom 10 to 8 times a day. And if I don't, I'm a bad wife."
Shout out to my
Also-
broom community.
And that's the grift.
And I can't show my ankles, and I have to wear, like, my eyebrows have to look this way. Like, that's how that community is going to follow. So as an influencer, you have to think about that, because if you start pushing that boundary to say all of these different things are me and are trad wife, right? And now everyone else on the opposite end of the coin are going to then have the perception that anybody who does these things is a problem to me. They're going to have a wrong perception, a wrong opinion, a wrong belief, whereas mine isn't. Mine is correct. And then on the opposite, go ahead.
I was about to say, on the other side, you have these people like projecting that onto everybody else. Like men will be like, "Oh, well, if my wife isn't like this and this and this, then she's like not a real, like what I hear the phrase like not a real woman going around a lot. Maybe because like I'm on that part of TikTok, I guess.
Yeah.
It's basically just like projection of belief
Yeah.
across the board.
Like, I think people need to realize more that, like, we've gone past, like, expression. We're now falling back into stereotyping. We're going back into, like, profiling in a way. We are. We are.
Yeah.
And it's a problem. And I think it's more important to understand, like, fashion is fashion, a trend is a trend.
Yeah.
But once that trend dies, that trend wasn't a trend for the people who were doing it before. It became a trend, and now we're going to hold this stereotype to this thing for the rest of time, even after the trend dies. And that's a problem, I think. But is it directly because of politics or economics or anything? Like, no, it's because your perception holds more like, you believe your perception is it. Your perception is what it's supposed to be about fashion, about the skirt hem, about what your morals, your beliefs, your system, because that's how you express yourself.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it's right. That doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean it's liberal. Doesn't mean it's conservative. Doesn't mean it's a race. It doesn't mean anything, right?
Yeah.
Like, we can all hold different identities and be one person. Like, it's just really interesting to me how we have become so black and white as a society, whereas, like, it's really not what it is. Like, you can have a sense of style. You can follow certain trends. You can be into fashion. You can follow it. You can be in art. But does that mean would you say you're 100% a full-blooded liberal?
No.
No. We're more complex than that. And I don't know. I guess like the whole argument in itself just seems so weird.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to art and how art has changed over times, like my partner brought up like how there's different timestamps with art. Like like you have Renaissance, you have I don't even know. I'm not a huge art person, but like I don't know, like
Renaissance, Baroque.
Yeah.
What else?
He brought up contemporary. He brought up what else did he bring up? I can't even really remember.
Like modern art.
Yeah, modern. Like all of these timestamps of art do definitely have a showcase more of politics than like what people are wearing. But the only reason for that is because when art is deemed one like to be it, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what's shown in museums.
I understand for sure what you mean when you talk about expression and the fact that there sometimes needs to be a separation between the two. We've got a couple more minutes in here, and I want to have some closing remarks from you guys. I will mention also, I think it's just as important to say that I think we've covered fashion doesn't influence, but I would be willing to bet that we will influence, or we do use it as a tool for certain things, because what comes to mind to me specifically, I don't know how much you guys have seen this online and like just out like in public, but like we mentioned laces, right, on boots, and like how color matters and how lacing and things like that matter. It's not so much a trend anymore, because usually a lot of those colors and things like that ended up being, you know, signs of very oppressive groups, you know, and that's why you mentioned like trends change, you know, like people can do these things. But I think in my time of being on the internet, I will say that I have seen like dog whistle trends, you know. I will say that there are moments where I've seen people take things from history and use it as like not subliminal, but in its own quiet message, you know. The most prominent thing that comes to mind with me is usually like Nazi wear and Nazi dress, because there are certain things that like just hold memory, you know. Like there are certain, and I don't want to get this wrong because I don't remember the name, but like militant Nazi wear, like especially traditional Nazi wear, does
like a lot of
have
uniformity.
Yes, a lot of it, like it's not just that like it was that time period, it's what it stood for. And by the way, there's a very specific type of military coat that was used in the 1940s and I think early 50s, where that was just a symbol. Like when you saw someone on the street and you were in Europe and they were wearing those clothes, that was a tool, you know, to show status, to show power, to show, you know, like where you stood in the chain of command, you know. Yeah. And when I see people now wearing those clothes and like the specific style of hats and you know, dress wear and things like that, like it's that memory doesn't leave, you know. And it's I don't know, like we do need to call out some things like that, because sometimes they know what they're doing. There was someone online who did say that they felt they were the reincarnate of Hitler, and dress accordingly. You know, it's very few and far between that you're going to see such extremists like that. Yeah. But we also need to point out where we see it, like wearing certain things like that is a dog whistle, you know.
It is pretty scary. Oh,
sorry.
No, go ahead.
It is pretty scary because around a lot of the uniformity around those times, or throughout time, it's a symbol of intimidation,
right?
To the enemy, I guess. Yeah.
I guess as someone who's not online, as much as I think others are,
yeah.
I guess my only cautionary thing is like, when you go out into the public, do you see that? Do you see people dressed like that?
Yeah, on a college campus, I don't see that.
Have you seen it in the city when you walk around the city? Have you seen it in your...
I will say yes in the city.
When I'm in like when I'm in like the middle of nowhere, Texas, sometimes I see like a huge like out of pocket thing. Like I used to live in like the middle of nowhere, Texas a few years back,
Yeah.
and we would see people like wearing Confederacy
Mm-hmm.
flags,
Tattoos,
uniforms.
things like that.
Yeah.
When there was actually an area out in Tyler I was at, like, I think late last year or earlier this year, where a lot of World War II vets actually lived, and they saved the Nazi paraphernalia that they received from the war, not because they themselves were Nazis, but because it was like trophies to them to say, like, I fought and this is like what I keep. So some of them had pins, some of them had flags. I saw a real 1940s flag. It was huge. It was a huge red and black swastika flag sitting on the back of a wall. So I will say that I do see that in public more with older generations than not. But yeah, I do see it walking around.
I see some younger people do it, but as a reactionary kind of thing.
Definitely like an edgy way, right?
Like, it, to me, it seems like, and this might be a perception thing too, like that they don't actually believe in that. They just want a reaction out of people. And like, even those people, they feel like really bold enough to say like crazy things to me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Nothing but the audacity. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's like the only thing I would have to like, I want to question, because when I like go out, I mean, here's the thing, and I think it's something younger people need to get over. Like, old white people are old white people. They grew up in a very different time, especially if they went to war.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, if they got that and it has a meaning to them, it's on a wall in their home.
Yeah.
I'm not walking in their home. I don't know if they're inviting anybody over who's gonna be upset about that, just walking into their home. So I feel bad for people who are older, who may not have the full understanding of what the Confederate flag means to a person of color and what they perceive that as. Because, I mean, growing up in the South, even my age, I didn't really learn much. I learned like that war was about land, like not being taught that was a war about slaves, like keeping slavery alive and well and do it. Like, I didn't understand the full capacity of Jim Crow until I went to college. And I'm not going to say that entirely, but like when it comes to my education, because I did my own research at home, I had my lib guides, you know, I love those, but it wasn't implemented into my education learning about those things specifically until college. And if you don't know what to look up, especially in the deep South or in a area that's neglected by this country, and you just are, your education isn't good and you're not being well informed, you don't know what to look up online, right? So I don't know. When my dad wears the Confederate flag shirt on Sundays to church, is that bad? Question mark. Like, they don't know to look that up because other people surrounding them are doing it too, right? And I think we can't, like, that, I don't know how else to say it. Like, it sucks, and I'm a white woman sitting here saying, don't be so mean to them. But I mean, it goes both ways, I think. Like, there's a lot of things that other races aren't educated on about other races. But I mean, so when it comes to like fashion and trends, like if you're on only one side of the media, especially now with algorithms, you're never going to get something unless you even make a comment about it to your phone. Like, it'll never be showed to you. So if you don't know what these things mean or what they are, you just think it looks cool, like, how are you supposed to fully understand the weight of that, you know? And again, as I'm saying this, I'm sitting here from a very privileged, like, stance. I mean, I grew up, like, farm, yeehaw, woo-woo life, and I went, you know, to school, whatever, right? Like, I did afford the things that I have, and but I still think understanding that there is another side to it, what you think isn't always correct, also, it's close. I mean, I guess just like perception is key. Understanding perception, understanding other people, being empathetic, and getting like the idea of the way you dress is the way you dress. Yeah. That's what it is. And unless someone is actively threatening you in any sense of the way, I don't know if you can fully judge a person by what they have on their body.
Yeah.
Kiara, any closing remarks, thoughts, prayers?
Pray.
No, that's pretty much all I got.
Yeah. Well, I think we hit a lot of topics today. I'm glad that we discussed a lot of what we brought up. Hopefully, all that was concise. I guess to put it all into one pretty package, it seems like moral today: fashion.
Dress how you want to dress. Have fun with it. If you want to wear I love the way you do your hair, and you always got little beads in it. Sometimes you come in and there's a shell there, and I'm like, sprinkles. Oh, that's it's like pops, and it's fun. And for other people, it may be doing certain things with the way that you dress, and finding those little things that make you happy and how you present yourself. That's you. And people are going to like it and people are going to hate it. And that's what it is. But you can't ever look at a person in the way that they're dressing and say, that feels very Republican of you.
Yeah. And that's why I'm going to walk into the office Monday morning with fish flip-flops.
I have sharks sandals.
Oh you better come in with those sandals.
I'm on it. Don't you worry.
Because I'm flopping all the way into the office.
I think they're called cloud shoes, which doesn't make sense because it's a shark. Have you ever seen a shark in the sky, Kiara?
A shark in the sky? Like with wings?
No, it's just a shark.
Just a shark in the sky.
It is a yellow shark.
Oh, that's so cute.
My toes come out of its mouth.
That is adorable.
So I might bring them into the newsroom and then put them on. I don't know if I'm going to walk with my toes exposed on
So you're not confident enough to walk out with the toes out?
I'm going to have to come in dressed as a cowboy now.
Ooh.
Mustache.
Really just throw us all off.
Yeah.
Actually, the shark shoes will be on. I'm just going to come as a shark.
Ooh, okay. In ode to the 50-year anniversary of the Jaws movie, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes. And also just because, sharks are great.
And then we're going to reenact the movie.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Can I eat Fred? I actually have a onesie that is a shark and my whole body goes into it.
Yeah, can somebody clip that? Can I eat Fred? Scene. All right, guys, we won't take up any more of your time. Thank you for listening. Again, this is Allegedly the podcast. It's
Allegedly.
me, Ash, Kiara.
I ate Fred.
I love you.
We'll see y'all next week.